to roll into the Twitch chat. So let me get my chat up here. And then whenever you want to share your screen, just let me know, and then I can turn your screen on when you share it.
Cool. We'll probably do that at the end because it's a little technical stuff, but I want to hit it. I want to hit it off somewhere.
Cool. So we are on Twitch. We'll give it a few minutes for people to pile in, but yeah, man, I thought that was super funny.
And I never thought to do a tutorial or to show people how to use the settings in Comfy or even how to do it on Civit, but I had so many people who didn't know anything about using models reaching out to me, who are just my friends who work in the other side of the film industry, and they're like, "Hey, this is cool. How can I use it?" And I was like, just go to Civit and press create. And I realized like I almost need to make a tutorial for that because to some people it's still so foreign. So it's like, we'll do a little at the end, like a quick tutorial on it. But I think soon in the future, I'll make a little video for people who don't even use Comfy, but it's like, this is how you go on Civitai AI and like make a photo with the model. Because
dude, anytime you want to do stuff like that, just let me know and we'll do it as a joint thing.
Oh, together. Sweet.
Yeah.
I've had some, do you want to be on a stream for 14 hours?
Okay. Let's get kicked up here because we got a little over 100 people join now, and more people are going to pile in as this thing goes. So guys, welcome. My name is Tyler. This is a very special Civitai creative session. Thank you guys for joining us. Today, I have a very special guest. I'm really excited to talk to him. We've been chatting for the past 30 minutes, just warming up before we come on stream, and we got a lot to talk about. This is Calvin Herbst. I have brought him up on stream a couple times over the past few weeks because of a Laura he created, and the way I found him, just a little background here. Or actually, you know what? Calvin, introduce yourself, tell the people who you are, what you do, and then we'll jump into it.
Thanks, Tyler. First off, thanks so much for having me. Like I was telling you earlier when we were talking, the Civit library of content you guys have on YouTube is such like an underrated learning source. And I've in the last year, just by watching every single video there and looking at other videos that people recommend on the YouTube, like it's like such a wildly incredible, useful database of knowledge that I think is going to be around for a long time. And to just like talk some shit on it and have my 2 cents, like I'm super happy to be here. I grew up working in the film industry. Like I was working as an assistant when I was like 15, and I worked my whole life in the film industry. And I was working in New York as a producer for a little bit. I produced 3 feature films before I was 24 that all had international distribution. And then I started working in commercial because the money was better, and I was shooting commercials and I was doing a bunch of commercial photography. And I was working in the art department as a production designer, and I was set dressing, and I was directing commercials, and I was always editing stuff. And amidst all of these projects, I would take that money and my friends who'd work commercial, and then we'd fund each other's projects, and I'd produce my friends' films and they'd produce my films. And so I was just trying to stay super busy my whole life in the film industry until I got a little bit burnt out of it. Was traveling a bunch, and I'll kind of talk about that later, until I ran out of money irresponsibly, was working on a farm in Romania, discovered machine learning, and it kind of like brought me, revitalized a lot of my creative inspiration and what I thought was possible with the tools that are being created and having a chance to create some of those tools. And so now I'm still directing and producing commercials and music videos. But in my free time, I'm deep learning and creating animations and images with machine learning, and talking to random people on the internet and sharing things, and just exploring what machine learning can do.
In the back of my mind, the little voice is going, one of us. No, but no, dude, thank you so much for joining us. So just to give you guys a little bit of context, the way that I became aware of Calvin was, I have in the past couple weeks, couple months, really kind of got my LinkedIn algorithm to a point where now I'm only seeing AI relevant stuff. I'm only seeing AI people, and I'm only seeing AI posts. And I came across Calvin's post on LinkedIn, which I will actually link the exact post in the chat right now in case any of you guys would like to go check it out, where he started it with the phrase AI artist theft, and he totally baited everyone with that, and it was definitely by design, because in the thread he went on to describe how he trained a flux Laura using his own professional photography work, and that he was giving this Laura away on Civitai so that people could also create art using his work. And I scrolled down and I read the comments, and I could not believe the sheer amount of hate this guy was getting for training a model on his own work and sharing it. And I was like, okay, we got to talk about this. We got to talk about this.
You know, I'll say it also got a lot of love too. Like I never have. Thank you. People are saying nice things in the chat. That's so great. I love when people say nice things. That's rare. But on LinkedIn, people were also being really supportive, and on Reddit, people were also being very supportive, and on both platforms, people were being very derogatory and rude. And some people weren't being derogatory and rude, and they just had really hot takes, and we were going back and forth respectfully. Some people were going back and forth not respectfully. Some people were arguing with me. Some people were arguing with other people. But I never made anything in my whole life of making things and releasing things that so many people reacted positively to and so many people reacted negatively to. And it really made me feel like it was important and it was worth exploring, even if I'm not sure of the ethics of all of it. Like I say, I feel strong. I voice my opinion. I say what I feel, and I say things that are designed to start fires, and I'll throw some gas on that fire too. But also at the same time, I'm not going to die by my words, and this technology is changing, and maybe one day I'll change the way I feel. And that's okay too. But I think it's important to stand by what you believe in, and to engage with people in a respectful way, even if you don't, believe in the same thing. Reddit was on fire with debate. Yeah, Reddit was crazy. It was on the top of the Flux and Comfy page for like a week. And I had some great phone calls with people who are interested in training Lauras and hosting Lauras. And I answer every single question. Like if someone wants to know like all of the settings that I train the Laura on, I'm like copy and paste, like, here you go. Like, what else do you want to know? Like I'm super open to sharing, because I think everything I've done with machine learning was created with open source material. And I feel like the karmic cycle of sharing is really important. And if you gatekeep things that were created by something that was shared to you, then it inhibits your ability to create things. And so I really think that the more I share and the more I give away, even if it, inhibits my ability to make money in the short term, I think in the long term adds value to my life and to other people's lives. And I think that's a net positive. So the haters can suck it.
Well, I guess that kind of answers the question I was going to ask, which really was like, a lot of people that do work on the traditional side of things would not be so willing to take stuff they've created, train a model on it, and essentially just kind of like hand people their style to do what they want with. I feel like that is probably very rare amongst people, particularly in the film and photography industry, like very rare. And it's something that I would like to bring back up now that we talked about prior to going live was, a lot of people are into the protecting the artist rights, and they really grandstand on that. But just like, at what point does something transformational become okay? And yeah, man, it's funny how so many people feel so strongly in different directions about it.
Yeah, and there's pros and cons too. Like before I released the model, I was thinking really seriously about it, and I was like, what are the pros and cons to this? Like, people, maybe it will devalue my work, but someone on LinkedIn made a really funny comment about like they were trying to to like bait me into saying that it was devaluing my work, and they were saying, what if someone takes this model and they mass produce photos that become famous to the point where those derivative photos lose value, and then they're sold at Kmart, and then they're hanging above someone's bathroom, and then your photos was used to make a 75-cent photo on Kmart that didn't pay you, that was above someone's toilet. And I said, that would be the greatest honor of my life. Like, if my work got used so heavily that Kmart sold derivative of it and someone put it above their toilet, I'm like, that's incredible. Like, that's such a, I used to make, when I was making movies and producing movies, and I'm still doing that, but not as heavily. I always had one of my goals. Like, I always wanted one of my films to end up in one of those 99-cent DVD bins that you see at a gas station, because that's how you know that it's so widespread. Even if it's worth nothing, like, you can buy it at a gas station and some random trucker like will watch it in a motel. And to me, that's like more inspiring than than it being in like a guarded niche place where fewer people can watch it and have access to it. And so it's like the whole gas station DVD bin concept. If it's like, if someone can take my work and put it in a gas station DVD bin, that's like the ultimate threshold of success. It's not a threshold of failure. And so that would be incredible. So if someone wants to use this model and put images above their toilet and sell them to Kmart, like, by all means, go for it. And the other thing is, I was thinking about like the concept of value and how value is correlated to content inflation. And, if the inflation of content down makes the value of something go down, that's correlated to it. And I think, like, if Jeff Koons, who's that artist, the contemporary artist who makes the balloon animals, that balloon animal sculpture by Jeff Koons is like the most replicated sculpture by any living artist in modern times. And if you look at Jeff Koons' net worth, he's the second most valuable living artist in the world. And you could say that it's because so many people replicate his work that it makes the original work have more value, even if more people are ripping it. And so if you can give people the opportunity to rip your work, it only spreads your work more. And it only increases the value of what you create. They're not indirectly correlated. I think they're directly correlated. But it's hypothetical because the concept of value itself is like a banana you pay for 50 cents at a 7-Eleven gas station convenience store. If it's nailed to a wall in a museum and a collector says it's art, I'm going to pay $3 million for it, that banana's not worth 50 cents anymore. It's worth $3 million. And so value is just determined by whatever someone's willing to pay for it. But I think that it's directly correlated to how much people have access to your work. Like, if you can give people access to creative tools to make something, it only, even if it inflates the market with art that's derivative of it, I think it ultimately raises the threshold of the value of all that art.
So you saying that, okay, I am extremely guilty of this too. And I try not to be, but it's something that's very difficult, I think, not just for me, but for a lot of creatives who freelance for a living to get past, right? I think that is the main, that is usually really the big kind of like punch in the gut sometimes with shifting the mindset on that. And that is, do I really want to create my own competition? But I like the way you're looking at it, and I totally agree with everything you're saying. It is I know you understand, though, as someone who's been in the industry, how difficult it can be to switch that mindset, though.
Yeah, it's hard. And I'm not asking anyone to switch their mindset. Like, a lot of people are grounded in their mindset because their livelihood depends on their ability to be a little bit gatekeeping of what they do. And so I don't ever speak derogatory of people who are anti-AI, because I know that everyone just wants to work and to feed their families and to eat a good meal at the end of the day. So it's like, if someone is talking shit about something, a lot of times it's because, they're coming from a place of trying to protect what they've built. And, I respect that. But I also, at the same time, have a higher respect for, we were talking about like the democratic power of different tools in art. And like when phones were invented, so many people could make films now that couldn't make films before. And people and the critics of this were talking about, now there's going to be worse films on the internet, and now there's going to be all this bad junk. And there is, but the cream still rises to the crop. And people who are good at making films will still make films, and they're not going to be deterred by that. And the good films will still get seen, even amidst all the bad underneath them. And I think that making not just making AI art, but specifically training models and developing tools that other people can use to make machine learning art, is exactly that. Like, it's just more power. It's just more power to the people. When after I was working a bunch in New York, I just got really sick of it, and I was really burnt out of it. And like the beautiful film production everyone's working on set together that really drew me in when I was so young got it kind of got old to me, and I still love it, but I love it in a way that I feel like I'm not addictively chasing it anymore. So I have a more healthy relationship with production now. Um, but so I kind of said, screw this. I worked a bunch more than I should have. I'm losing my hair from it. I'm too young for that. So I'm gonna just travel and keep traveling without much of a plan. And I did that very well and very responsibly for a long time until I ran out of money and my visa was expired and I couldn't buy a plane ticket home. And so I had friends who found me a job working on a farm in Romania, and I had to hitchhike there because I couldn't buy a bus ticket. And I had everything I had in a backpack, and I still have that backpack. I don't own anything except like a computer and some clothes and things like that. Um, and so I was working on this farm in Romania. It was a tree nursery, so we're taking care of trees, and it's friends of friends who have a newborn child, and so they just need some help because they need to tend to a baby. And I'm just helping them build their house and do their farm. It's nothing like super intensive. But while I was doing that, I was like, man, I don't have these tools for creation and production that I've had my whole life in New York, where everything's at your fingertips. It's like, how can I create things? And so I learned about, this was right when like Runway was coming out with video to video, and I had been using Luma and Nerf scans in the past, and I was really fascinated by that. And so I started like taking, when I'd walk in the morning in the forest to pick mushrooms and to look at trees, I would like take scans of cool plants and of old houses and just things that were interesting to me. And then I'd animate those videos with my cracked iPhone in Luma, and then I'd export those videos and airdrop them to my 2015 Mac, and then I'd run them through Runway with some AI filters, and then I would put them on a screen and film them with an old point and shoot camera, so they'd have like a more analog texture, and write a little poem to go on top of it and just release it on Instagram. And like every day for like a couple weeks, I just made a new video and felt really creatively gratified from it. And that's all I was looking for. But what was fascinating to me was just a few weeks after that, Luma, the app that I had used to make those videos, which is a huge machine learning app that's probably top of the industry in making Nerf scans with consumer tools, reached out to me to interview me for a creative director role at their company. And I'd been trying to get a non-freelance job my whole life since I was in film. Like I was working freelance almost by necessity, not by choice. And I was like, man, I'm working on this. I'm literally doing an interview at 3 a.m, like from working on a farm, making $3 an hour of a village of 300 people in Romania because I don't have a visa. And I just made something with my phone in half a day, and then went to go take care of trees. And from that, I got an interview at one of my favorite companies in the world. And they were smart not to hire me because I was not qualified for that job. But it opened the door. But it opened the door for me, and it really opened my mind to the capabilities of like, man, these tools are so simple, but you don't need complicated tools to make amazing art. Like amazing art comes from inside of you, and people were able to make amazing art when they had crushed up minerals on a cave painting wall. Like it doesn't really matter what tools you're using. And now learning about LoRa's and being able to not just make art with machine learning, but to also develop tools and release them for free to other people make art was really gave me a lot of motivation to release this model, because I was thinking, man, if I come from a background where I have a good education, I have a family who lives in the US, I have a US passport, I get paid in US dollars. Even if I'm working on a farm, even if I have no money, I'm still rich because I still know enough people that can give me a job that will save me, that are safety nets for me. I still have my education, and I was able to use tools with nothing to create something. And I was like, man, the power to create tools for other people to use is almost a new discovery for me, but more powerful than creating art with those tools itself. And so I think it's such a I'll end this annoying right now, but it's such a democratic and powerful thing to be able to create to people, is to give someone a model that you made is so special, because now they can make anything with it.
No, I totally agree. And there's something you said in there that I just want to go back and kind of reiterate is that it at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the tool is. It's more about the intention. And I always really hate when people don't think there's any intention behind what people are creating with AI. When you literally have to talk to this thing and tell it what you want. And let's not even getting into anything where there's masking or compositing or anything like that. Just like at the most simple level where it's just prompting, you're literally giving it your intention and then collaborating with it to get something that visually shows what you were trying to explain. Like
Yeah, and
what
someone just said,
what's not intentional about that?
you just press a button and type some text, and that's true, but it's really underrated how important it is to have the intention and the power to describe what you want in text. Because before I was ever doing machine learning stuff, and I'd be working with a cinematographer and a production designer, and a colorist and an editor and all these different creative department heads, to make one shot for a film or a music video or a commercial or something, I would always think about uh, describing the quality of light, the direction of the light, the type of light, the color of the light. For the costume designer, what's the person wearing? Is it layers? How many different patterns are we seeing? The makeup artist, like what's the contour of their face like how old does this person look, like how much makeup are they wearing, what type of makeup are they wearing, the hair, what's their hairstyle. Like you have to know how to describe hairstyles to a hairstyle artist if you want to be a director, because you have to have that vocabulary. If you want to speak to a cinematographer and you want to make images that feel uncanny, maybe you need to know the vocabulary like Dutch angles and an asymmetrical perspective, and you have to know all this vocabulary that comes from like almost an institutional place. I mean, not institutional, you don't have to use an institution, but it's knowledge and vocabulary uh, that takes a lot of time and practice to build. And when I'm writing a prompt in AI, I'm thinking the same thing. I use the exact same template that I use for a production storyboard description. It's like, where's the light coming from? What's the action that this talent is doing? What props do they have? What's the backdrop? What's the relationship to the backdrop? Like I have this whole list, and I'll probably make like an article about it on Civitai and share it, because I think it's really helped me writing prompts. But it's funny, my thinking for writing prompts is the exact same thinking when I'm creating a shot list for a film. Like I'm thinking about all the same things, but instead of telling a team of people, I'm like in my apartment at 3 a.m., like drinking a Red Bull, telling a computer. And so it's the same process. It's just a different tool. Yeah.
Yeah, no, man. So what do you think is like the dividing line between people that come from the industry that are so intrigued and kind of like get caught up in it the way you have versus people, maybe some of even like your colleagues or friends who are also in the industry who are just like they just don't see it? What do you think like that the difference is there?
Uh, that's a good question. The people who are, what's the difference of people who are forward thinking and excited about machine learning versus people who don't see it as anything interesting? Um, I think it just depends on how what people spend their time doing to make their livelihood. Like my friends who are camera operators in the industry, like their job is so technically grounded in the physical world and the physical production that even if they acknowledge the something that's good that's made with AI, like I think if people's background is more grounded in production, because in production, like, yes, I'm a production person, but at the same time, I'm not like a camera assistant who's only managing the wires on the camera and the
Mm.
focus system and all the cases lined up and the lenses, and like that's all a different type of technical people. And I think now that I'm saying it, it's important to separate the concepts of art, craft, and design, and it's like a triple Venn diagram of, and all those things overlap with each other. But for instance, in a film production, different jobs fall in different places in those Venn diagram. And like someone who's really craft based, but maybe not involved with the design is like a camera assistant. Like they're not designing the shots, but they're really involved in the physical material of the craft of like making sure the camera is built properly so the operator can then use it to design a shot. And the person who's operating the camera is still technical because they're still using the camera. They're still craft people, but they have a little bit more Venn diagram nudge in the direction of design because they're more directly influencing the design of a frame. And a cinematographer, you could say, is like really in the essence of design because they're designing the images, but they're not even touching the camera sometimes. And so they're not like a technical craft person. And an artist, like maybe someone who's a director, isn't touching any of those pieces. They're just talking with the people, and maybe they're not design or technical. Maybe they're just art. And I think the people who are more pro machine learning tend to be on that Venn diagram further from the craft because the machine learning isn't so much of a material craft. Like there's programming and technicality to it that's craft, but not in the same respect of like someone who's painting a set or sculpting a mask that a person's going to wear or something like this. And I don't think that makes it more valuable or less value. It's just something to like contextualize in this Venn diagram, like where people fall. And I think people on one end of the Venn diagram in one part are maybe more pro AI because they're less grounded and their livelihood is less tied to craft and more tied to concept. And AI is really more of a conceptual tool than a crafting tool.
Gotcha. No, that's probably one of the best, most like clear answers someone has been able to give me to that question because most of the time it's, I don't know, they just don't like change.
And it's also actually another thing that I really think is directly correlated to it's how well that person is providing for themselves and their family. Like if you are making a bunch of money and you have enough clients who know your work that even if you lose some work, you can still go to your Italian vacation with your kids. Like you're not going to feel so threatened by someone on the other side of the planet making an AI image that looks like something you made because you're still materially provided for at the end of the day. But I think if people are struggling in the industry and they're having a hard time making ends meet, I think they're way more likely to be defensive of the technology that they see as devaluing to them. So and maybe this is a critical thing to say of people, but I think if people have low self-value, not that they should have low self-value because your value shouldn't be determined on how well you're making your ends meet. Your value should be determined by, the relationships you have and how happy you are and how healthy you are and all these other things that are way more important than making ends meet. But if it's hard to make ends meet, it's hard to recognize like the value of those other things. And if you're having a hard time making ends meet, it's a lot easier to criticize something that's a threat to you than it is if you're on your Italian vacation with your wife and kids, So I think it's people. When people attack me, I also feel for them because I know what it's like to not have work and I don't want to I don't want to come at anyone who feels threatened because they're having a hard time working because I know what that like. I know what that is like too. So I think that's where it comes from too. The industry is changing. People are losing jobs and people get defensive.
That's a really nice comment.
Thanks.
AI digital, right on money. No, dude, I totally agree, and it definitely, with what you just said, it's probably really easy for people who haven't quite made for people that feel like they're still trying to step into their career and get there. They probably see this as like they're the first line of people that would be cut by something like this by someone who's good with stuff like this. And that's probably where that comes from too.
Yeah. And, the other side to that nice, I don't want to hurt anyone comment is what we were talking about before this is a lot of people, when they're condemning AI, they're speaking about, we don't want to take jobs away. But the reality is in a competitive market, when I'm pitching a commercial against other directors, I damn well do want to take their job. Like that's why
Mhm.
we're pitching against each other. And when it comes to machine learning, like, I don't want anyone to not be able to feed their family, but I want to feed myself too. And I only have a backpack. I don't have a house. Like I don't even have an apartment. Like I'm in my friend's apartment right now. Like, so if I can take someone's job and get work for myself by using a tool that I made, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to take their job. And I hope they try to take, and I hope they try to take it back from me. And I hope that that competition going back and forth, like makes everyone better and makes the bar higher. Like, I think that's a good thing. So, on one hand, I empathize with people uh, who are struggling to make ends meet and they don't want to take their job, don't want to have their job taken from them. But on the other hand, I want to take their job because I'm trying to make my ends meet. Like we're all in that boat together.
Bro,
So
and
it's a hard ethical question.
I cannot agree with that sentiment anymore. And that is it, and it's something that people won't a lot I a lot of people won't want to admit that because like we said, it's easy to be for the greater good when the greater good affects my bank account. That makes it very easy to get on the soapbox and grandstand and take the thing. But everyone would be a bit naive if they think at any point in time there is not someone right next to them or looking at them from a distance who is actively trying to figure out how to get their job with or without a computer.
Yeah, that's just how it works. Like whether you like it or not. And as much as I love art to not be a monetary thing, like, and it doesn't have to be, if you want to survive as an artist and and it's okay to have a job that's not an artist job and to be an artist on the side, that doesn't mean you're less of an artist. But if you want to make a living as an artist, then you have to be competitive and you have to have a competitive mindset to some degree. I don't want to say to what degree, but a little bit. Um, yeah, it's kind of just a reality that we're in, whether we like it or not. Uh,
So, from your point of view, though, from where everything is right now, do you, because all we hear from the outside is how AI is going to take jobs, take jobs, take jobs, right? What jobs do you think this is actually going to replace
mm,
in the industry that you're familiar with versus like how real is that? Do you actually think that fear is for people?
I think what the question of what jobs it will take is a great question because so many people just say that and they don't even know what jobs they're
Mhm.
talking about.
Yeah.
Um, Immediately, like some of the first ones to go that are already going is like rotoscope artists. Like
Please take it, please.
yeah, and that's kind of how I feel like, and maybe there will be a rotoscope artist or yeah, like someone just said, like a comp job, like making comps. But I still think there will be comp artists and rotoscope artists, or there'll be a rotoscope pipeline at a studio who has people working in house for them. But the ones who are competitive are going to use AI tools. You're still, it's not like the producer is going to go in and start using the AI tools. Like there's just going to be a new job title. Like when film cameras got started to get outpaced by digital cameras, right before that happened, a lot of the people in the camera industry were like, not super happy about film cameras or digital cameras because it threatened the jobs of a film loader. And a film loader is the person who goes into the bag where there's no light and takes the film off the spool and changes the mag of the camera. But if you have a digital camera, you don't have that job anymore. But now with digital cameras, we have this job called a DIT, a digital intermediate technician. And it's the same thing, but with the digital format. And it's, yes, I think it will take away some of those jobs, like how film cameras or digital cameras kind of decrease the need for film loaders, even though we still have film cameras and people who know how to load film. Uh, but look, now every set has a digital imaging technician. And so, look, there's a whole new job with digital cameras. And I think AI will be the same. Um, and when ILM shifted from painting plates and shooting plates on glass plates to computer VFX. First, their computer VFX department was like 3 people, and no one at the company respected them. And then when ILM is Industrial Light and Magic, they're like the VFX company that does stuff for Star Wars. And then when ILM switched to computers, they they fired everyone who worked on plate painting, but they gave them all the opportunity to say, hey, if you want, we can train you to do computer VFX. And of course, all those people were like, no, we like painting. We don't like coding. So a lot of them said, we don't want to do that. And they left. And in the end, a lot of them came back and they said they regretted it. And ILM did an ethical thing and offered those jobs that were taken away, and they offered them the jobs that were replacing them. And not everyone's going to do that. Not everyone's going to be like ILM. And so I think if you're an artist who's feeling really grounded in the tool you're using, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and you have to say, am I the cream of the crop of the person using this tool? And do I have the drive to be the cream of the crop, the person that uses this tool, if it's going to become outpaced? Because if I don't, and if what I'm trying to do is to make money, maybe it's different if you're working a non-industry job and you're happy to just use old tools to create art that you like that's amazing. And people should be able to do that. And I hope people do that. But I think artists need to evaluate the tools they're using in the context of how the tools are changing. And sometimes you have to learn new tools. That being said, when digital cameras came out, we still have film cameras. We still have movie shooting on film. It's a more niche job set. We still have it. And when photography came out, painters were really threatened, but photography just enhanced the world of painting and changed the value of paintings. Like, people no longer painted hyper realistically because a camera could do that. People still painted. It just changed the way they paint. It created all these different types of painting. It created expressionism, came from the advent of digital cameras, pushed painters to move away from realism. And so the creation of one medium doesn't destroy the mediums before it. It just evolves all of the mediums together. And that's why people still paint with charcoal and ochre, the first minerals that people ever painted with 40,000 years ago in cave walls in Mesopotamia. Like, you can still buy ochre on Amazon, and you can still find professional artists using ochre. So I guarantee you, whatever tool you feel threatened by AI, will exist, and you can choose to be a part of that, or you could choose not to. And to circle back to your question that I went on a huge tangent of talking about.
No, dude, it's all good. I love it. I think everyone else is really enjoying it too.
Thanks. About what jobs are going to be like really thinking tangibly. Like, okay, well, what jobs are going to be taken away? I think most of them are in post-production. I think production tools will incorporate AI in some ways. However, production itself, I think, will be. I don't know if production itself is going to become less common, or maybe it will. If a computer can make a realistic human and you can direct them, why would a studio pay an actor $300,000 for their booking fee to come in if they can just create their own actors? So it's like, maybe production and talent will go down in the future when AI gets really good. But I think the first thing we're going to see is like VFX pipelines are going to incorporate machine learning into it. And it's going to be mostly in post-production. And then once the post-production gets really good and start creating things from scratch, then production is going to start decreasing and there's going to be less production. And a lot of production people aren't happy about this, but at the same time, film production is an inflated market, and every distribution service doesn't make enough money, and they're all on a negative profit decline because there's too much stuff being made for too much money, and it's too expensive to make, and there's not enough people making it. And there's not enough people watching it. And so it's almost like the industry balances itself naturally. And I love the idea that every production worker has a job forever. But the reality is, if there's not enough demand for a really expensive supply, then it's just inviting a technology to come in to disrupt that. And I don't think there's anything ethically wrong with that. It's just like the feng shui of art and how it's intertwined with industry.
So here's a question. When it comes to the film industry though, how, like, with the way the tools are going and the current trajectory everything is on at the rate we're getting not only new tools but tools constantly get iterated on and improved, um how viable do you think it is for people who want to get into that industry to continue to try to get into a major production studio versus a lot more indie style studios popping up, because now you can make really great things that are emotionally intriguing for a lot less than it would take a major triple A type studio to do.
Yes, it's important to note that just because you can make something that's emotionally intriguing and just because you have the tools to doesn't mean that it will happen, because you see how much AI content there is online and how much of it is garbage. And that's because even if you can make a whole feature film visually, what you still need is the voice of a person who has something to say that people want to listen to.
Mm.
And just because you can make something that looks beautiful and cinematic doesn't mean it's going to be good, because something that's good is something that makes you isn't has nothing to do with the quality of the image or how you made it. It's how it makes somebody feel when they watch it. And the people who are good at drawing animations that make people feel something with a pencil will be good at doing that with AI, or could do it with the camera. Like there's something inherent with voice, and I think that people who have a strong voice can use any tool, and people that don't have a strong voice will be unsuccessful with the most advanced tools. And we kind of see that a lot today with big studio films, and why a lot of them tank is because they have these, the best artists in the world working in teams of 1,000 people, but they're, just trying to pump out the same IP over and over. And people don't pay to see it, no matter how fancy it is, because it lacks voice. But I think that artists with voice will use any tool at their disposal, and some of it's AI and some of it's not. So I think it comes down to voice.
I would totally agree with that. If the work isn't speaking to anyone, then it doesn't matter how pretty it is.
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely going to be in this time of like content superinflation where people are.
I think we're already there. I think
Yeah,
we're
and
already in content superinflation.
it's just going to go up and up. And one of the effects that's going to have on people is people are going to get fed up at looking at bullshit content, and they're just going to stop looking at content altogether. And there's going to be a decline of people who are willing to look at anything and who have attention span to look at anything at all. And I think maybe that's a good thing. Like maybe humanity needs to get the fuck off their phone and go take a walk outside. Uh, and 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 so maybe that's a net positive, even if the whole industry starts to tank. Like maybe we need the industry to tank. Like maybe we need to get fed up with content and to stop looking at it. That's a possibility too. It's a hypothetical, but yeah. Someone said touch grass. Please touch grass. It's awesome. Call your mom. Have a drink with your friend. Like there's so many better things to do than to like. I mean, I'm the worst advocate for it because I'll sit on my computer for 14 hours and like look at dumb things and like program AI models. But touching grass is good.
So okay. Joviex, who has been very active in the chat today, which Joviex always appreciates you. Joviex has a very I know him personally. He has a very long history and career. He worked at Disney before.
Oh, cool.
So Joviex knows his stuff, and he's worked in VFX pipelines and whatnot for years. I definitely agree with him. It's like, okay, something I have thought about ever since 18 months ago with Warp Fusion, right? Before Animate Diff and Comfy was even a thing, was where is I'm always looking for the longevity in this. Is this a flash in the pan, or is there longevity to be found here? And the longevity probably won't come from the thing we're using right now. We probably haven't seen the thing yet that will provide longevity for people that want to make a career in this specific niche. But in a world where in it, like we would all be amiss to not think and a bit naive that in a year from now everyone will be able to make the things we can make in Comfy on their phones without needing to connect a K sampler to a fucking video combine or something, right?
Yeah.
And so at the time when anyone can make anything, including the stuff that we're making right now, whether it has voice or not, where does that leave everyone? And again, I think it comes down to the cream will rise to the top, and the people that are in it will already be doing the next thing that the people that are just now being able to do what we're doing currently on their phones or whatever. Like the ball keeps rolling, but I do think the ball rolls faster and faster and faster every 6 months to a year. And more importantly than learning any of this stuff from the technical side, it's more important for us to continually increase the amount and like the just it's we have to get better at learning basically to be able to hold on to our careers.
Yeah. And that's kind of, it's like a case by case basis of what's the longevity and what's the point of it all is that, for instance, when I released this model that was trained on my work, going back to that guy who was talking about Kmart and my work being devalued, the thing it made me immediately think of that I didn't think of before I released it, I only had this realization until after I released it, was now anyone can make a photo, an image that looks like it was shot by me. And now what's the point of my style? And now if I want to make a new model, I can't because I've used all of my favorite data to make version 3 of this model. And so if I want to make version 4, what do I have to do? I have to go out and I have to shoot new things and I have to see with a new light and I have to develop a new style in the real world if I want to train a new model, because the model is just a derivative of the data that it was trained on. And so I think maybe the longevity of like, I feel like it's already moved my style along because I'm already thinking about shooting things in a way that I haven't thought about before, because I've really detached from my previous photography work and my previous style, because now I feel like it's out there and anyone can have it. And now I have to take the next step for myself. And maybe I wouldn't have felt that if I kept my work to myself and I said, no, this is for me. This is my style. I'm going to keep it. Now that I give it away, it's like, okay, what's next for me? Because now this is in the past. That chapter's closed. Like
That
it's free for anyone.
Man, that I don't even want to that. Okay. Yeah. I that
And I
resonated with me.
thanks,
That one punched me in the gut.
Papa. Thanks. And I used to teach like some like film and photo classes to like kids at like camps, just like free like Boy Scout camps or like school camps and things like this. And I remember when I started teaching the classes and I really wanted to like blabber and talk about like rule of thirds and ISO and camera settings and stuff like that. And I just remember how bored the kids were. And then when I did another round of classes and I was just like, day one of the class, here's a camera, go out and make an idea and just like start shooting and, just take as many pictures as you can and shoot as much stuff as you can. And that level of high iteration, even though I wasn't teaching those kids about composition, like they learned composition faster just by doing work, by creating images in a high volume and then going on a computer and looking at those images. And so I think there's a correlation between the volume of the work and the quantity, and how you can learn from quantity more than you learn from quality. And I know that a lot of people are like quality over quantity, but if you're writing a script,
you get to quality through quantity.
Yeah, like if you're writing a script, the best advice I ever got to finishing a script was the first draft. You have to write it as fast as possible, and you can't go back and edit it. You just have to get to page 60 or you have to page 70, and it's garbage. But once you get there, then you can go back and start editing, and it works way better that way than trying to write perfectly on top of each other. And making images is no different. Oh, I think I lost you.
No, you're good. You're just lagging for a bit there.
Okay.
Oh, did you
Cool.
lose me?
And making
Are you
images
there? Okay.
is no
I,
different. And so when I released this model, when I was testing the model and making, I think I made 10 different versions of it before I got to version 3, which is the most up to date now. Uh, I've been using Run Comfy. Um, I used to have a 4060 laptop, but it got stolen. Um, and so that I lost all of my local comfy install and I lost everything and I was really bummed out. And so I didn't do any AI stuff for a month. And it was really refreshing because then I came back into it with the worst computer and I was like, well, I should use a cloud server now that I've been too stubborn to do because I've been tied to my local host. So I was like, well, now if I use a cloud server, I might as well just rent the best machine I can get. I might as well rent like a 80 VRAM, 80 gigs of VRAM, like A100. And I was like, oh, now I can run Flux. What's this Flux thing that just came out? And I was like, oh, now I can make like not just like an image every 30 seconds. I was like, I can make an image every 5 seconds. And so when I trained this model, when I was adjusting the settings and then going back and iterating on the LoRa training settings, I made probably 10,000 images with this model, just in like the week of me training the LoRa. And in those making 10,000 images, I really felt like a kid in one of those classes where I was like, oh, I'm just like, that's where the learning comes from, is iteration. It's what you were saying about learning. Like learning is like the bread and butter, and that's what we have to learn how to do. We have to learn how to learn. And if you can create in high volume, even if it's not as good as something you could shoot with the camera, but the thought of me giving a model to someone in another part of the world who doesn't have a camera, and then they can make 1,000 images that otherwise would have looked like stock photos because the base model makes things that look like stock photos, and now they're making things that to me look more tasteful. I feel like I'm just giving away a photography class and anyone can take it for free, and it's like such a net positive. So it's so funny when people were hating on LinkedIn and they're like, someone on Reddit called me Hitler or called me a Nazi or something. Like, this is working. This is the coolest thing I've ever done.
Dude, in the words of my good friend Pers, fail fast and fail often.
Yeah, shout out to Pers. I watched, before I even had Comfy on my computer, I watched a bunch of his tutorials while I would like cook dinner. I didn't even have Comfy or know what a K sampler was, but I was like trying to learn Comfy. That dude is that dude knows a lot about building workflows.
That's that's like what I was doing with except before I had my first PC, before I could use Warp Fusion, I was watching Enigmatic E's YouTube videos.
Yeah, I was also going to give him a shout out. And I was telling you that the whole LoRa training for me and making still images has only been something I've done in like the last month or two since Flux has been like on the rise, and I've had this new laptop running a cloud server. Before that, I was doing all animation and turning 3D like Nerf scans into animations. And I'll maybe show some of those at the end of this when we share screens. But Enigmatic E and you have made some workflows that I used heavily, and I made some stuff with it that I was really happy about. And it's so crazy because clients would see that in the film world, and I'd get hired to do a project. Like I got hired to do this refrigerator project that had nothing to do with AI. They didn't use any machine learning. It was just like people at a refrigerator company who felt like the stuff they made was boring, and they just wanted to hire someone who made stuff that they hadn't seen before, even if it like wasn't what they wanted. And the stuff that I was making was so, I mean, it was as you guys were developing the workflows and as Animate Diff was releasing updates, like I was making stuff with it. And it wasn't great, but it certainly looked unique, and it caught their attention. And I got to make some commercials and have some real income because of a bunch of AI stuff that I made that had nothing to do with the work itself. But like, even if you make something and just put it out there and you think it's bad, like it's crazy how it can catch someone's attention, and then it leads to an opportunity that might be totally different to that, but it's still an opportunity.
You gotta put it out there. You gotta make the stuff and you gotta set it free, and people are either going to feel strongly about it or people aren't going to give two shits about it. And either way, I promise you, in today's world, they will forget about it in 48 hours. And so and it's okay, just put it out there.
True. So shout out to you and Enigmatic E, because that you guys are the reason I directed this refrigerator commercial. So like, That's sick.
We love to hear it. Love to hear it.
Indirectly. And
Let's.
also, while we're talking about
Oh,
shout
yeah.
outs, I also wanted to give Latent Vision, the guy Mateo, who's the guy who writes
Mateo.
the code for IP adapters. Man,
I'm trying to
that
get
dude,
him on.
that man, please get him on. That guy is a really excellent example of the dev side of the world
Mhm,
communicating with the creative side of the world. Like
mhm,
he's not like the only developer of IP adapter, and he's not like only making stuff with IP adapter. He's like kind of 50-50. He's like developing the code for it and then bringing it to the people on YouTube and showing them how to use it. And he has such a deep knowledge
mhm.
of how image diffusion works, and you can learn. Like I learned so much from that dude's YouTube channel. So if you like IP adapters, man, you have to or concepts about machine learning, like Latent Vision on YouTube. Shout out to Mateo, is incredible. And then you also had this guy on Dot Simulate.
Oh,
Uh,
dude, Lyle is doing some crazy stuff in Touch Designer now. Oh my god.
And man, don't let me forget this. We got to circle back to it, but the future of like what I'm imagining of what I want to do with machine learning is really directly correlated to live mixing and live synthing uh, videos for like concerts and screens and art installations by using machine learning and like mixing Touch
Dude,
Designer.
he lives in New York. You should hit him up.
Oh no way! Cool. You should
Yeah.
put me in like a DM with him or something.
Yeah, yeah, for
I'd
for
blow
for
that guy.
sure.
I'll blow that
'Cause
guy up immediately.
I'm pretty
Um,
sure now he has like real time stable diffusion generation influx using control nets.
Man, I have so many. I've drawn so many like things. I've drawn so many like diagrams in my notebook. I don't even know how No Touch Designer works, but I have all these crazy ideas about like wiring cameras to generate images that turn into control nets that live feed into a Comfy node that then gets video sent to analog and goes back to Comfy. Like I've never done any of this stuff, but my mind is just like so recently fascinated by synthing videos and coming to a day and age where we can synth videos live, like a DJ mixes music live, and you
Hmm.
can control something in real time. The model training that I've gotten most known for on the internet and stuff like that is really it's so interesting because it's such a little like just a side quest that I did, and I don't
Hey
even plan
man,
on using that model. Like I don't want to make photos with the model. Like I want to take photos with the camera. But I was like, but this is
exactly,
cool. Yeah, but I was
exactly.
like, but this is cool that now I can just train a model off my style and now anyone can have it and it helps me develop my style further and it makes the whole AI database maybe a little more tasteful and
I want
that's
to
in my
use
opinion, that's
AI
cool.
to I want to use AI to create things that I can't create with this.
Yeah,
I can
exactly.
create it with this. I would just create it with this.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm still so down to develop tools and models for people who don't have cameras, maybe or who want to use AI. Like I think that's a great ballpark for people to play in, and I'm happy to make tools and models for people to use. But it's not like what I want to do as a creator. But I do feel some obligations to release models and tools into the open source because so much has been given to me. And like I said, I want to like put back into that karmic cycle. So like I do have a little bit of passion for like making tools, and that's newfound for me. But ultimately, like the art itself I want to create, I think is definitely more animation and it's definitely more live synth and experimental weird stuff.
Dope, man.
Um,
Well, I will definitely link you up with Dot. You got to get on Discord though, so I can put you in a DM with him on Discord.
okay, cool,
And
cool.
then why don't you go ahead and share your screen and you can show us what you want to show us before we get to the wrap up here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 1 second.
Dude, this has been an amazing stream. I'm really stoked on this talk. I think the chat too has been really stoked on this talk. So yeah, just
Does this chat get saved? I haven't been reading it, but I wanna read nice comments for once in my life. Uh,
um I think maybe I think yeah, I think it gets
it's
saved
okay if it
in
doesn't.
the Twitch VOD.
Okay, let me see if I can share my screen here.
Yeah, and then I'll put your screen on when it pops up.
Okay. Can you see this run comfy screen here?
Boom. Yep.
Okay. So this is a workflow that it's downloaded it's a Google Drive link that's in the Civitai page. And I just wanted to kind of run through how this model works and what settings are best for it because it's a little bit precise. Um,
Just do us a favor. Yeah, zoom all the way in to wherever you're talking about, just so they can see it better.
Gotcha. There's an upscaler at the back of here, and these values, the 1024 by 768, which to me gave the best results for some reason, and I think it matches the training data the best. That's piped to the upscaler, so that's why they're piped out of there. The LoRa's here. There's the sampling stuff here. It's a dual text encoder, which is kind of important for Flux that I learned about, which is there's the left side prompt, which is a clip L encoder, which are really like more general stable diffusion style prompts. Like I just write like keywords and commas. Like, I don't know, we were talking about touching grass. Let's do like man, grass, touching grass, sunny, nice day, side light, hat. And then you have
And so, guys, this is the workflow you can find on his LoRa page that's pinned to the top of the Twitch chat. But I'll go ahead and put it in the chat one more time for you guys.
Yeah, and then
a
of course
Google Drive link, and that's where this is.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have to type Herbst photo, and then there's 2 tags in here. And then there's this T5 text encoder, which is really unique to Flux because it was trained on natural language, and so you can write natural language, and it understands natural language, and so you can say like a bird's eye view image of a man with a soft smile laying in tall brown grass blowing in the wind. And then Herbst photo. These are bad prompts, but they're just quick to kind of explain the difference between these 2 text encoders. But this one, you can really write detailed descriptions with natural language. Like you can write prose and you can write long paragraphs. And then you kind of just want to use this one to describe like general style attributes. And that's how Flux, the text encoders work better that way. You can combine them and use one prompt, but if you separate them and write your descriptions differently, it favors how Flux was trained. Then there's this groups meter. The only thing that I have up here that I use is upscalers. You can enable and descale, enable and disable the upscaler. And the things that are really important on this model are the LoRa strength and the flux guidance combination. For some reason is really specific. And I think I found that the sweet spot for the LoRa strength and flux guidance is putting the LoRa strength at 2, the flux guidance at 2.5. And the scheduling and sampling is also very important. The scheduling and sampling, and this is just Euler simple, but you'll get a lot of different results and different textures if you change these. Like it really changes the texture of the image. And for some reason, the base shift needs to be really high for it to accurately replicate 35 millimeter film grain, and the max shift needs to be really low. And I found that the sweet spot was like 8 and 0. So if you want to get a model to pick up on fine grain detail that's based off of the training data, then I don't know why, but this base shift value is really important to keep like above 5 but below 10, and it will pick up on like film grain and dust and scratches and things like that. Oh no, this is a new comfy model and I have to put my LoRa in here. Okay, so I won't demo this because I don't want to bore you. That's so funny. My LoRa is not in this right now.
No, but it's all good because in the workflow in the Google Drive link, you have those notes nodes in there, so people can literally just read the instructions you described if they want to.
Yeah. But the important thing to notice is the LoRa strength and the flux guidance. Like if you just leave this at 1 and this at the default, like it's going to look weird. But there's a really strong sweet spot at 2 and 2.5, and if you want a little bit less style, turning this to 0.9 on the LoRa strength and the flux guidance at 2 is like a more medium result. And then if you want to get like a little stronger result, you can go 3 on the LoRa strength, and you can go 4 on the guidance. And then if you want like really weird abstract stuff that's still for some reason looks cool. If you go 3.5 and 5 is like the most you can push it, but you'll get really beautiful like abstractions where like people's faces are totally covered by film burns and asymmetrical and things are out of focus. Like it really looks nice and imperfect. And that's important when you're creating work with AI, because so much of the stuff the data was trained on looks like stock photos. And so I try to make models that really push it away from stock photo. And I used a data set of images that really push the model towards, people's faces out of focus and film scratches all over the frame and things that just looked overall messed up. And that's what that model is really good for.
Would you happen to have any of the Nerf videos you described to show them real quick?
Before? Yeah. This one was the one it's on Runway TV. This is the one that Luma saw. That was like one of the first ones I ever made. Are you seeing my new screen?
No, we're still seeing the Run Comfy screen.
Okay. Okay. Let me stop sharing this one. I thought I was on my website for you. So this one here that my mouse is on, it's like this poem, and it's a Nerf scan that's ran through Runway. And you can kind of see the style of it. It's has this really grainy texture that's created by like a point and shoot camera that it was mastered on by shooting the screen on a point and shoot camera. These are all just like Nerf scans run through Runway back before I was using Comfy.
Sick.
This one too. This is like a tree. This is a tree. That's such a great description. This is a tree. I'm like a third grader giving a show and tell. This is a Nerf scan. Ran through a bunch of stuff.
Dude, I feel like Nerf scans have been really underutilized by the community, and it's a whole other playing field. And something every weekend I tell myself I'm gonna go outside with my phone and I'm gonna like get some Nerfs and do some cool stuff, because I have this Gaussian splat plugin in After Effects that's relatively new that does some really cool stuff.
Oh, no way.
It makes it really easy to work with the Nerfs in After Effects now.
Okay. I'll have to look at that.
Here, wait. I'll get the link and I'll share that with everyone. It's like a $50 plugin, but cool. But I'll share that Gaussian splat After Effects. Boom. Here we go. So, real quick, let me.
Someone says guidance at 2.5 is low. There are many backdraws by using guidance that you don't speak about. Hey, I get it, man, but it looks good. I don't understand it, but it looks good. Someone said I love the tree. That's so nice. These are some other videos I made with splats. This one on the left is is a scan from a temple in Vietnam. This is a temple in Thailand. These are animate diffs, so they look a little nicer than the other stuff. You can kind of see just like the rendition on them is a lot more intricate. This is like an alleyway with with the more realistic model. These are all stable diffusion. This one's super fascinating. This guy and this girl on this bed was made. This was another one I did when I was working on a farm. And I didn't have any people to be models, so I used like 2 bottles of olive oil and I scanned them. And then, so this camera move, like if you look at the raw footage, I don't know if I have it on here. Oh yeah, I do. Here's the process. Okay, cool. It's here. But here's like the Luma scan with no background. It's just like olive, like this is what it started as. It's just 2 bottles of oil. And that, yeah. And then it's like, isn't that nuts? And then it's like I find the best part and slow it down with Runway, so I can like the 2 seconds of it that looks good, I can kind of milk into like 5 or 6 seconds, and then running that through a Gen 1 on a different look to give it like this neon look. And then I take these and I overlay them in Premiere, so I have 2 of the same like base images with 2 different looks on them. and combine them and retime them, so you kind of are fading into one and out of the other. And then I shot it on this like 2005 point and shoot on my screen that gives it this more like, to me, it's this more beautiful, like analog flickery texture that AI can't really replicate at this point.
Dude,
Uh,
I keep two of these things on me at all times. These little like old Sony CyberShot cameras that like pull down, just
dude,
like
I love those things. But yeah, on my website, there's a bunch of all stable diffusion animation stuff that's mostly Nerf. This one I really love. This wasn't Nerf. This was
Ooh,
just like a chain of this was a chain of weighted IP adapters. Um, and sadly, I don't have this workflow anymore because it was on the laptop that was stolen. Uh, but it's just text to image with a bunch of IP adapters all chained together. Um, it looks just like a nice abstract thing that I didn't think AI could do. Uh, and this one was with the one of the workflows that you made with Enigmatic E. This is like a 3D to AI workflow that you guys made together, I think.
nice.
And I made like this really bad looking comp in Adobe Premiere of like my hands shot on iPhone with the back of it is a 3D scan from Luma, and then there's like a spinning magic conch asset. And I like comped them in Premiere, and then I ran it through this model that you guys workflowed together. And it's like one of the most animation-y looking animations I've made. And that one's pretty solid. And then I just started playing with like the whole what's it called, the runway and the Luma image to video stuff, and that's not so much comfy UI, but I'm so fascinated by how the different tools like do different things to the images. It's really incredible.
Dude, I love the retro, glitchy, analog, glitch, digital, like that whole style of what was just on the screen right there. That's my shit right there.
Well, if you like that, I'll tell you about this other Laura I have.
Oh,
Uh,
please, please
let's
wait.
go.
Wait, wait,
Herbst.
wait, 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 wait. Don't type in your stuff yet. Let me
No, no,
take
no, 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 no. I
okay.
didn't. I didn't.
Okay.
Nice try, people. Nice try. Uh, I have a few models or Laura's out, and one of them is this synthwave one I made for Flux. There's a few other ones out there. I think mine's better, but it gives you images that look like this. You can kind of see without the Laura, it's like this, and then with the Laura, like
Oh
TIFF on.
yeah, yeah. We're gonna go save that one. Can you copy and paste that link into the private chat for me so I can share that with everyone
Yeah,
and
I got
also
it.
steal that one for myself?
Yeah, no problem. Steal away. There's the private chat. But this one I was really happy with. You can kind of see the strength. I made like a little strength comparison here, and past 5 it gets really degraded, but you can use it at like 3.5 and you can get some cool results out of it. It's one of those lures that you can crank up a little bit and it doesn't destroy everything. And then I've also got this one that's designed to recreate 8mm film, which does a pretty good job. This is like a film looking one, kind of more analog stuff. It's not perfect, but I was happy enough with it to release it.
Sick, man. Guys, make sure you give Calvin a follow on Civit. If you make any images with his stuff, populate the gallery, tip him some buzz, do all the things. Here, Calvin, just before we take off here, I'll just show you this in case you wanna take this for a spin. So this plugin makes it super easy to do this in After Effects with the Gaussian splat file directly from either like Luma or Polycam.
Is it like an effect in After Effects, or is it like a panel? It's like
Yeah,
a
so it's like it's an effect that you drop onto the footage and then you get all the effect options.
okay, that's so cool.
But it reads the splat file directly in After Effects now.
Man, I want to do more with Splat. I think you're familiar with Paul Trillo, that director.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
dude, I met
man,
Paul. I was lucky enough to meet him at the Comfy UI conference I went to a few months ago.
man, his work with Splats is really cool.
Speaking of which, while we're here, we might as well just pull up his page for anyone who has not seen that splat video he did.
Yeah, that the one with the garden was so cool. And is that the new After Effects plugin he was saying where you can actually mess with the splats in 3D space?
I mean, I would be surprised if he didn't use that because Paul is an After Effects guy.
Okay. I'd been using splats, but I'd only been using them in Premiere like as 2D assets that I just like slap on top of each other. Not like this. This is beautiful.
This is crazy. He shot this whole thing in his garden with just Gaussian splats. Like, this is insane.
I get so addicted to making the camera moves with Luma. Like, I could spend so much time just on my phone, like spinning those 3D models around and like keyframing moves. Oh, that hand movement is so good too.
Yeah, dude, this whole thing is just so dope.
And it's an advertisement. That boy made a check.
He made it.
Good job, Paul. Get that check.
He worked for that. He
did. He did. Fully support.
All right. Calvin, any last words, any specific things you are working on that you want to tell the people about, or where can the people keep up with you the closest online?
I post a lot of stuff on Instagram. It's Calvin_Herbst, HERBST. And my Civitai page also is where I post a lot of models if you're into downloading and open source things. Yeah, thanks. There's the Instagram there. And right now for work stuff, I'm just finishing this commercial production in New York. And then after that, I don't have so much of a plan. I'm going to be in Europe visiting some friends. So if you're an AI person and you want to talk shop and give me a bed to sleep in, I'll come and bring you a bottle of wine and we can talk about AI if you're somewhere in the world. But yeah, I'm as far as things I want to work on, like I was saying, I really want to do like that vid synth and learn Touch Designer and figure out how to wire controls inside of Comfy to a MIDI board so I can like have a video going and then I can change like the CFG or the denoise in real time. Or specifically like the animate diff node, how they have that one control. It's like the motion scale. Mm-hmm. Like if you could change the motion scale in real time, and like, then you could like, it's almost like changing the BPM to a track. Like it's really slow and it's really chill. And then it's like, boom, then you turn a knob and gradually it increases the motion scale. And
God, imagine having a knob to do that with.
Oh my gosh. And you know, maybe it's a matter of compute power. Like, I don't know how much compute you need for something like that, but now with cloud GPUs, like I wonder, I don't know if it's possible to tether together a bunch of like A100s and to just pay like $100 an hour to have like the supercomputer running in the background. But if you could, but if that's possible, man, I really want to make some real-time videos and wire Comfy nodes to a controller board and like just go crazy on a screen.
Dude, you are a legend. We got a couple people that are regulars from Civitai that are part of our moderation team and that are also just like always here on the stream and always participating that live all throughout Europe. So give me a shout and I'll connect you with people.
Yeah, please. I'm about to be on my homeless journey again. And I don't know where the next job will be, but hopefully it will be a good one.
Awesome. Well, dude, Calvin, you, my friend, are a legend. Thank you so much for coming on here and talking with us. I really appreciated this. They just got to witness me appreciating the conversation. So you guys lucked out today.
Thanks, man. You do such an awesome job hosting. Like the level of talent you have on this stream. I'm honored to be here because I've learned like almost everything I know from the people on this stream. And I have like my alert settings set and I'm like always, as soon as you guys drop a video, I'm there. I'm like, give me the knowledge. And so just to contribute to a little to that, I'm super thankful for, and I can't express that enough.
Really appreciate it. We get a couple YouTube comments every now and then telling us that these videos are a lot of talking about nothing for an hour, but I don't think so. And I also, like I said before, I really think a couple years down the road, this library of talent, you being one of them that we have had on here that we've been able to talk to from just like all these different corners of the AI niche, I think is going to be a really great thing to look back on as this industry matures.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I hope so. Well, thanks so much for having me. And anytime you wanna do some stuff in Comfy together, or test some models or break some workflows, like I'm on my computer all the time, deep into the night.
dude, for sure. We're definitely going to circle back with you. You are a Civitai stream guy now. So we're
Thank
definitely
you.
going to circle back with you again, and get at me on Discord. I sent you my username in on LinkedIn so that I can link you up with the people to help you do the stuff you want to do.
Cool, cool. Thank you so much. That means so much.
Hang out with me just for a second here, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Just so you guys know what's coming up next week, real quick. We'll be back, of course, Monday with Ali for office hours. But next week, Friday, we are going to have a double decker for you guys again. We got 2 streams next week, Friday. So, first thing, 12 p.m. Pacific, we are having a special Civitai roundtable with the Stevens Tech Institute, featuring not only myself and Chris from Civitai Air, but also Justin, our CEO. So you are not going to want to miss that conversation. I'm probably going to be very quiet during that one because that's going to be a lot of very smart people talking about very smart things. And then at 3 p.m. Pacific, next week, Friday, we are going to have Yvonne.mp4 back on. I don't know if you guys remember Yvonne. He showed us some touch designer stuff, and then he also showed us some SDXL stuff, and he has a new workflow that he wants to drop on the stream for everyone. So, guys, with that being said, my name is Tyler. This is Calvin Herbst. Go
Thank
follow
you
him
so
on
much.
all the things. The links are in the chat. This is civitai.com. Like, subscribe. It helps us keep the stuff going and bring guys like him in to come and drop the knowledge on you all. At Hello Civitai. Appreciate you all. Have a great weekend. See you guys next week.
Ciao.